Another question I get asked is, what would it be like to be inside the mind of a rare person? And I love that question. And what I think about when I hear this question is, do you remember the cartoons when you were a little kid and the school bus would shrink down and then they'd be suddenly inside the human body, they'd fly down the mouth, and then they'd go through all the veins and they'd see the cells and the mitochondria and they'd see how everything worked. Well, imagine you could shrink down, you could sit in the mind of a rare person. Well, first thing you would notice is that they sleep very well, even if they don't sleep much. Okay, they sleep very well. When I was a below average person, let's say, I would have these constant nightmares and terrible dreams. And what's really interesting, on a little bit of a side note, when you read Carl Jung, you start to have Carl Jung dreams. The collective unconscious really starts to wake up, and you realize he wasn't making that stuff up. It's real. The organisms, and they are like organisms, these units in the unconscious tend to manifest into your mind, and they have a personality all their own. There are things within you that act basically autonomously from you. But as you become rare, as you get in touch with your emotions, there's not enough energy. The archetypes and those sorts of things feed off repressed energy, at least the more devilish aspects of them. And as you get rid of the negativity in your psyche, bad dreams tend to decrease very rapidly because they don't have any fuel. They need fuel to manifest and populate your psyche when you're unconscious. So you get rid of that fuel by getting rid of negativity. They're the beasts that live off toxic energy, toxic waste. So if you get rid of the toxic waste, suddenly your dreams become calmer. And you notice that they sleep very well, and when they wake up, they have this boundless energy. There's like a little zzz, like this electricity running through them. It doesn't really make a sound, That's what it feels like if you could audiotize it. It's really this vim and this vigor, and vim's a good word because it almost feels like that, like vim, vim. They're revved up, but not out of control. They're not like redlining. They're really fully energized without being frantic. They have that energy that burns slow. That's probably a good way to put it. It's not like a sugar jolt where they're just like, frantic. It's that slow burning, powerful energy. And it feels good. So when you're in their mind, you would start to notice this tingly sort of excitement, this tingly sort of vivaciousness, this power. Their muscles feel powerful. They feel flexible, and it doesn't matter the age. I meet so many rare people who are in their 80s and 90s, and they tell me they feel fine, and it's really a great experience to be around somebody who's older than you that still has that, because then your mind goes, that's possible, I can do that. So you're in their mind and you're noticing this physical vitality. They have a sort of energy that is not dissimilar from when you were a child, and there seemed to be no limit how long you could play. So they have that childish energy. It comes back. A lot of that has to do with they respect their body. You notice as they go through their day that they eat very well, that they exercise. And there's two types of exercise that they do. They do hard and soft. They're always doing some sort of Tai Chi or yoga, soft exercise, but then they mix it with hard exercise. Hard exercise might be boxing, fighting, MMA, weightlifting, sprinting, something like that, a hard bicycle ride. So there's hard and soft exercise. Their diet is typically very light, very water-rich foods. They have vitamins, but they also have treats. They also have snacks. They enjoy the beauty of everything, and that includes food. You'll notice in their house, let me add also that one of the reasons that they're energized is because they've also got rid of that negative emotion. You don't realize how much energy you're using to suppress, not have to deal with the negativity. So as you start to deal with the negativity, you start going up. I almost called this program Float, because people who are rare tend to float through life because they've got rid of all that ballast. So their hot air balloon is no longer stuck to the ground. If you were to look through their eyes when you're in their mind, you see what's coming in, you'd notice in their apartment, it's beautiful. There's artwork everywhere. It may be sparse. It may kind of have that Japanese minimalist feel to it, but it's still beautiful. A lot of rares I've met do one of two things. They're extremely minimalistic, or they have those really unique kind of like, remember Diagon Alley in Hogwarts? If not, look it up. There's wands everywhere, there's little stores, there's little nooks and crannies, there's books everywhere. That's how I am. I like walls covered with neat artifacts, books, sculptures, you name it. I like having it there. Jewelry that I've found, things I found on my trips, a really unique kind of clustered but organized beauty. So you look around their place and there's all this information, that everything they're into, and they're into everything. They're into everything. They want to know about every single thing. They get a kick out of everything human beings do. They like art, they like dance, they like fashion, they like sculpture, they like ballet, they like hip hop dance, they like hip hop music. There is a caveat here. They don't tend to put into their minds things that are far too negative. They don't like movies that are R-rated typically. If they watch them, they skip the violent parts. They'll watch edited versions. They almost, in a weird way, treat their minds kind of like a 2-year-old treats their minds. You would notice this if you were in their head. So there's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of classical music. And besides from the beauty and all the learning stuff, you see there's various stations for their creativity. They like to draw. They like to paint. They like to sculpt. You might see clay. You'll see various musical instruments they're learning. They're also learning foreign languages. They're doing a lot of things. This is the master of, the jack of all trades, the master of one, is what we like to say. So they like exploring everything. As Thomas, I'll quote the Jefferson quote again, they're interested in everything and nothing else. So as you're looking at their world, they're excited about everything that's around them. And their biggest challenge is, how do you get better at everything you want to get better at and still have time for your main focus? So the rare's biggest challenge is organization, but they're highly productive, and when they get into something, they work so quickly and they concentrate so well that they can make progress faster than most people. And they have systems to do that, which we'll go through in the main program. The other thing you'll notice is that they have a lot of very good friends. So when they're out in the world, they meet up with good friends fairly frequently. They have great conversations. They love conversation. You'll notice that the people in their life that are annoying, strangers or otherwise, don't really bother them. They use that as ways to deal with the emotions that come up. So when you're in their mind, you start to notice that they're going through life and they're getting the most out of it, and there's an emotional bedrock there. In the city of Manhattan, where I live, the island itself is granite. On top of that island are skyscrapers and everything that human beings can build. But those skyscrapers and the skyline could be completely wiped away, and that granite, that happiness would still be there. And that's the feel you get when you're around rares. You could wipe away the skyline, so to speak. You could wipe away all their art, all their books. The world could go to ruin. The Nazis could come back. Everything's falling apart. Concentration camps start popping up. And they would still have that granite of happiness. They could no longer do what they love or are passionate about, but they'd still have that granite of happiness. They'd still be the person that is joyous. And that's really important. That's, I think, the main pillar of what this program's about, is to get you there and to be, again, happy even when you're not happy. You notice that when they do go into their main passion, when you're inside their mind and they engage in what they love to do. For me, it's writing and speaking. For you, it might be music, it might be business. Whatever it is, it could be the job you do, a doctor, a lawyer. It doesn't matter what they do. The one thing that they're most engaged with, they can block everything else out. And that's where they spend, 10, 12 hours a day. They're using 2-3 hours a day to explore the jack of all trades stuff. But 10, 12 hours a day, they are focused and into their passion. And this is where they want to become a master. They want to become the very best they can be. So that's what it's like being inside the mind of a rare person. You have this vitality physically. You have this emotional calmness and excitement in you. And it's extraordinarily addictive, and you get into a state where every day builds on itself. And then you see people who are interested in a ton of things and totally focused, or mainly focused, I should say, 90% focused on that one thing they're good at. So you have this incredibly well-rounded person. A St. Francis who's happy no matter what, and a Da Vinci who's good at a lot of different things. Let's do one more step. Imagine going into the mind of a rare person again. Let's change minds, but this time it's an old man or woman who's on their deathbed. Their body's aching. You're in their mind and you can feel the aches and pains in their body. You could feel the weakness. They can't read. They're too tired. They can't open their eyes. They can't perform any sort of passionate exercise. They can't get into they can't exercise, obviously. They can't go into their passion. They can't do what they've done their whole life, 10 hours a day. They're on their deathbed. But you notice that happiness and that excitement's still there. They're still happy for what's to come. They're at peace with the world. And if any fear's coming up, you notice how they're taking that fear and they're doing what they've always done with negative emotions. They're happy even in the negative states. They're happy to be able to experience the negativity and work through it. This will make more sense in the program.